welcome to a new episode of LJV Monday Night Classic Review, where every Monday night I review a classic women's wrestling figure and go into detail about it. Now today is a very unique one. It's WWE Basic Series 60, Renee Young. Now what makes it interesting? Well, let's send it on over to Secretary Stase.
Welcome to my Figure Facts, where I share interesting details on the figure at hand and the superstar themselves. Here are some neat tidbits on Basic Series 60 Renee Young, released in 2016. This is the only figure of Renee, only female backstage personnel or commentator figure, not counting figures toy company's abominations. Her original career goal was to become a comedic actress. Now back to Mare and to the review.
Mattel WWE Basic Series 60 Renee Young, released in 2016. This attire is from March 19th, 2015 episode of SmackDown. On this night, Renee would have a backstage interview with AJ Lee and Paige. Some overall first impressions of this figure. I just love this figure. I'm just happy to have a backstage personality in my figure collection, and Renee Young is more deserving. All I can say is I want to see Kathy Kelly get a figure. I want to see more. I wanted Kayla Braxton to get a figure. I wanted Samantha Irvin to get a figure. But we need to see more backstage personality figures. And as far as I know, this is the only one that we got by Mattel. Jazzwares released a female referee, and there have been women's wrestling figures that were previous women's wrestlers that kind of transitioned into the backstage personality role. But this is a dedicated backstage personality in figure form, and I love the idea. I want them to do it more in the current times, really. Now, I will say something about this face. So that's one thing when I was looking up previous reviews of this figure, this was years ago, I saw a lot of people talking about the face. It seemed a little controversial, like the Rosa Mendez. A lot of people were comparing this figure to the Joker as far as the face goes. We'll look at it in the next segment, and we'll see just how Jokerish she is. Now, I also gave her a mic. She did not come with a mic, but she has a hand that can hold one, and how can I have a Renee Young figure without a mic? Now, let's take a close look at that face. Okay, so this is important to note. Per the usual for most of the figures I review in this series, this was before the TrueFX face scan technology, so faces are either a hit or a miss. Now this one, it's all up for debate, honestly. And like I said, so many videos I watched that were reviewing this figure were just tearing apart the face, but I don't mind it. I don't mind it because it has personality. I think it does resemble Renee in especially certain angles. We get a good Renee look. I think what really throws people off is it is a, like, obscenely large smile. Like that movie Smile. This should be on the cover of the movie Smile. So I think that's where they missed a little bit, is the smile is a little too big, a little too forced, and I think that's what made it look crazy. If the smile was a little more relaxed, I think it would be a spot-on face for Renee. Now the hair sculpt is also fine. It is nice at the shoulder length, the blonde color, good sculpting work there. But yeah, so all the things I heard about how terrible this face is, I don't mind it. But I do see how some people get the Jokerish vibes because the smile is just huge. But me, I like the personality it has. Now, as far as the body sculpt and attire goes, this is another of many examples of an older women's basic figure that has tons of detail and effort and sculpting put into it that it just makes me wish that the current day women's basics or main event series had that care and attention and love and sculpting put into them, because this actually has a lot more than you think. The body sculpt works just fine. Now this outfit, if you look at the top here, it has a lot of intricately sculpted, I guess like flowers, maybe daisies we'll say, but it's got a real unique sculpted trim there onto the abdomen. It's sculpted around the neck there. And on the back, that pattern continues. And if you feel it, it's like an elevated type pattern. And we also have a little line where the zipper would be. So that top is just really, really cool. It's really fantastic, honestly. The skirt is just a khaki, I guess, color we could say. But it's a nice little rubber material. And it looks good with that top. Now, we're keeping the skirt on. So many times when I find these women's wrestling figures, like at a Second and Charles or a Goodwill or something, the skirts are ripped off. And I'm like, how does that happen, you weirdos? So we're going to just keep it how it is. We're just going to look at that. And then the boots. These boots are... Girl, where'd you get those boots? These boots are sick, and yes, they are different than Rosa Mendez's boots. And these are like fancy designer boots. Like, dang, Renee. Renee's really letting it fly there with these boots. Those things are nice. There's a lot of sculpting work in them, and they're beautiful. I think that the body sculpt in the attire is really, really cool, and it's actually perfect for Renee. All right, so as far as articulation goes, the head doesn't move a whole lot, to be honest. The shoulder's on a ball joint. We do have a lot of articulation here, as the early women's basics had. We have the upper bicep swivel. We have a single jointed elbow there. The wrist can rotate in all different directions. It can't extend up or down. It's not removable. I believe you could probably heat it up and switch out hands, but either way, it's nice that we have an open hand here where she's like, come on, come interview me. And then this hand has a mic, and it's like, okay, speak into the mic. Speak into the mic, please. Thank you. We have upper torso articulation, which is really, really good. We have a waist swivel. Hip is on a ball joint, and this skirt is pretty stretchable. Stretchable, so it allows a lot of movement. Knees can bend about 90 degrees. We have an upper boot swivel, and then the feet can planar flex down, dorsiflex up, and yes, we have peg holes. So now let's talk about what this figure goes for, the pricing. So the most recent eBay sold listings had this figure selling for $20 shipped, MOC, and $14 shipped loose. So this figure is still really inexpensive to get. So if you have any feeling to get this figure, I would go and get it right now because prices are pretty cheap on eBay for this Renee. And I think the pricing is actually really good. Now, do I think that this figure should be added to your collection? In my opinion, capital Y-E-S. Yes, I do. Because she is a dedicated backstage personality who did interviews. She also did some commentating. And I just think it's cool that she got a figure. I think it's so cool. And I wish Mattel would make a Kathy Kelly. And I know the time has already passed us, but a Samantha Irvin should have been made in figure form. I think they screwed up by not overreaching and doing something different. Take a risk every once in a while, Mattel. Take a risk like you did with this Renee back in the day, because it's cool to have a backstage interviewer in your collection. I think that's really awesome. So I do think you should add this to your collection because of the uniqueness of it. Even if you collect only a few women's figures, or if you have some men's figures and women's figures, you need this. You need this Renee in your collection, in my opinion. Now, with that being said, thank you for watching another episode of LJV Monday Night Classic Review, where every Monday night I review a classic women's wrestling figure. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'll see y'all next Monday.